Close your eyes and picture the Sahara. Sand, endless sand. The hottest place on Earth where nothing grows and nothing lives. Now picture that same place covered in lakes, rivers wider than the Nile, grasslands stretching to every horizon, elephants, giraffes, crocodiles, humans building settlements along the water. A civilization thriving in the heart of what is now the world's largest hot desert. That is not a fantasy. That is the Sahara, 10,000 years ago. Scientists have spent decades trying to piece together what happened here. Why the Sahara turned from a lush, green paradise into a 9 million square kilometer wasteland. What and who was lost when the rains stopped. And now, satellite imagery, deep core drilling, and archaeological digs are revealing something no one expected. The Sahara is hiding a 10,000-year-old secret. A secret someone clearly did not want found. Walk deep enough into any desert and you will find water, locked in the memory of the stone. In Wadi Al-Hitan, Egypt, a place whose name literally means Whale Valley, the sand gives up its dead, and the dead are enormous. 65-foot whale skeletons, 37 million years old, hundreds of them, preserved in the desert floor like a mass grave someone forgot to bury. These are not land animals that wandered into the desert and died. These are ocean creatures. Basilosaurus, an ancient whale with a long serpentine body. Dorudon, a smaller whale that swam in pods. They died in water, deep water, an ocean that once covered North Africa, the Tethys Sea. But here is where the story takes a turn no one saw coming. The whales tell us the Sahara was an ocean. Fine. Oceans dry up. That is geology. But the Sahara kept a second secret buried under the first one, and this secret is far stranger. Long after the Tethys Sea vanished, 100 million years after those whales took their last breath, the Sahara did something it was not supposed to do. It turned green, not just a little green, not a brief wet spell. We are talking about a transformation so complete, so sustained, that for nearly 10,000 years, the Sahara was unrecognizable. Scientists call it the African Humid Period. It began roughly 14,500 years ago. Earth's axial tilt shifted, the same wobble that gives us seasons, and the change was just enough to pull monsoon rains north from the equator deep into the heart of North Africa. Rains that had no business falling on desert sand started falling year after year, century after century, millennium after millennium. Lakes formed where there had been nothing. Rivers carved channels through ancient rock. Vegetation crept north, then sprinted. Trees took root. Grasslands spread, and animals followed. If you want to see what the Sahara looked like during this period, do not look at the sand. Look up, not at the sky, at the cliffs. Deep in southeastern Algeria, on a sandstone plateau called Tassili, someone left us a record. More than 15,000 paintings and engravings cover the rock faces of this UNESCO World Heritage Site, and what they depict should be impossible. Giraffes, their long necks stretching across the stone. Elephants, full herds of them marching across hunting scenes. Crocodiles basking by rivers that no longer exist. Cattle, antelopes, hippos, animals that require water, grass, trees, all painted in a place that now receives less rain than almost anywhere on Earth. Think about the artist who painted these. You cannot paint a giraffe you have never seen. You cannot paint elephants if elephants are not walking past your home. These paintings are not imagination, they are documentation. Photographs carved in stone before photography existed. The animals tell us the climate, but the humans in these paintings tell us something more. Hunters with bows, herders with cattle, settlements, communities, people living here, not passing through, not surviving, but living, building, raising families, creating art that would outlast their entire civilization. For roughly 10 millennia, the Green Sahara was not a myth, it was home, and then it stopped. Around 8,000 years ago, something changed. The orbital tilt that had pulled the monsoon rains north began to shift back. Slowly at first, a fraction of a degree, barely measurable, but the monsoon noticed. Year by year, the rains came a little later and left a little sooner. The lakes began to shrink. The rivers ran thinner. The grasses yellowed and died. The trees could not hold on. And the people who had built their world around the Green Sahara faced a choice no civilization wants to make. Some moved south, following the retreating rains into what would become the great civilizations of the Nile Valley. Some moved east toward the Red Sea hills. Some stayed too long and left their bones in the sand. Now here is where it gets interesting. When archaeologists dig beneath the Sahara, they do not find empty desert under the sand. They find lakebed sediments, thick layers of organic material that could only form in standing water. They find pollen from tropical plants that should not exist north of the equator. They find fish bones, crocodile teeth, hippo skeletons, and they find human settlements, stone tools scattered across what was once a shoreline, pottery fragments mixed with the bones of animals that need water to survive, burial sites oriented toward a landscape that no longer exists, as if the dead were laid to rest, facing a lake that dried up 5,000 years before their graves were dug. The Green Sahara did not die all at once. It died in pulses, wet periods followed by dry periods, each dry pulse a little longer than the last, until finally, roughly 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, the desert won permanently. The last lakes evaporated. The last rivers stopped flowing. But buried under all that sand, something even bigger was waiting to be found. In 2015, a team of scientists published a paper that most people never heard about. They had been studying satellite radar data, the kind that can peer through sand and see what lies beneath. And what they found rewrote the map of Africa. Beneath the Western Sahara, running from the Atlas Mountains of Algeria all the way down to the coast of Mauritania, is the ghost of a river so large that when it flowed, it would have been one of the longest on Earth. Scientists named it the Tamanrasset, 2,500 kilometers. That is the estimated length of this buried river system. To put that in perspective, the Nile is roughly 6,600 kilometers. The Mississippi is about 3,700. The Tamanrasset was not a stream, it was a continental artery. During the African Humid Period, this river carried water from the mountains through the heart of the Sahara and emptied into the Atlantic Ocean. Its basin, the land it drained, was enormous. The sediment it left behind is still detectable from space. Picture what this means. When the Sahara was green, it was not just a scattered collection of lakes and grasslands. It was a connected, living ecosystem powered by a river system that rivaled anything on the continent today. Civilizations could have thrived along its banks. Trade routes could have followed its course. Entire cultures could have risen and fallen, and we would not know because the sand swallowed everything. The Tamanrasset is not completely dead, by the way. When heavy rains fall in the Atlas Mountains, rare but not unheard of, water still finds its way into the ancient channels. For a few days, a few hours sometimes, the ghost river flows again, and then the desert drinks it back. But the Tamanrasset is not the strangest thing satellites have found in the Sahara. Not even close. In June 1965, 2 American astronauts aboard Gemini 4 looked down at the Earth and saw something that made no sense. In the middle of the Mauritanian desert, hundreds of kilometers from anything, was a perfect set of concentric rings. A bullseye carved into the surface of the planet, 40 kilometers across, so symmetrical, so precise, that from orbit it looked like a target someone had painted on the Earth. They called it the Richat structure. Most people know it now as the Eye of the Sahara. For decades, no one knew what it was. A meteor crater? The rings are too shallow, no impact glass, no shocked quartz. A volcano? There is no volcanic rock, an ancient city. That theory lit up the internet. Atlantis hunters pointed to its circular shape, matching Plato's description, and its location beyond the Pillars of Hercules. But here is the thing. The real explanation is almost stranger than Atlantis. The Eye of the Sahara is a geological dome, a bubble of ancient rock pushed upward from deep within the Earth's crust over millions of years. Then, erosion did the rest. Layer after layer of different rock types, some hard, some soft, wore away at different speeds, creating the rings you see from space. It is not a city. It is not a crater. It is a window into the deep Earth, a place where the planet's interior pushed through to the surface and then spent 100 million years being sculpted by wind and water. But the Eye of the Sahara is also something else. It is proof that the Sahara has been hiding things from us for a very long time. The structure was invisible to anyone standing on the ground. You had to leave the Earth to see it. The astronauts of Gemini 4 were the first humans to ever lay eyes on it. What else is still buried down there, waiting for the right set of eyes? Here is the part nobody talks about. The thing that turned the Sahara green, the shift in Earth's axial tilt, is not a one-time event. It is a cycle, a 26,000-year wobble. The tilt that brought the monsoons north 10,000 years ago is already beginning its slow journey back. Scientists at UCI and research centers around the world have run the models. If nothing else changed, if human-driven climate change were not a factor, the Sahara would eventually turn green again. Not in our lifetime, not in 100 generations, but eventually. The physics of the planet demands it. But human-driven climate change is a factor. And that is where the models get complicated. Some projections suggest warming could actually accelerate the next green Sahara. Heating the landmass pulls monsoon rains further north. Others suggest it could delay it indefinitely, disrupting the very cycles that drove the last greening. Nobody knows for sure. The Earth has never had to run this particular experiment before. So the Sahara waits. It has waited for 5,000 years already. The ghost rivers are still there under the sand. The Tamanrasset, the fossil channels of Lake Chad, the buried tributaries that once fed an inland sea. The seeds of plants that grew during the last green Sahara are still dormant in the soil, waiting for the rains that will not come for another few thousand years. And somewhere beneath the sand, the things the last green Sahara's people built, their settlements, their art, their graves are still there too, undisturbed, waiting. The Sahara does not give up its secrets easily, but every few years, a satellite passes overhead, a drill core comes up from the deep sand, a radar pulse bounces back with something unexpected, and the desert has to admit, it was never as empty as we thought. The past is down there, buried, silent, and patient. It has been waiting 10,000 years. It can wait a little longer. If this is the kind of buried truth you want me digging up, subscribe before you go. The next mystery I am taking apart has been hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years. And the evidence scientists just uncovered is forcing historians to rewrite an entire chapter of the ancient world. It is going to make this one look like an introduction. And tell me in the comments, do you believe the Sahara will turn green again? Or has humanity changed the planet too much for the old cycles to repeat? I read every single one.